I wasn't sure if I needed to make this video. I was patient. I waited a week for their update. And holy, this game is hot garbage. The gameplay loop is trash. The update that I was hopeful would fix the game's fundamental issues is trash. The game is a cash grab. The only soul this game has is from a donation. We're going over everything wrong with Alter Ego because I have genuinely seen nothing this bad with an Asym killer in a while, and it's not being honestly discussed anywhere. And don't worry, stick around until the end to see how I would fix the game's issues. Let's get into the video. Alter Ego's gameplay loop tries to do too many things at once and fails at all of them. Voltario who? However, before we talk about Alter Ego, we have to talk about the Asym killer genre. Most Asym killer games fall into one of two categories: timer stall and generators. Timer stall is simple. The survivors win if the timer runs out. The killer wins if they kill everyone. And if you run out of health, you die right there. The main draw to this type of subgenre is that matches are fast-paced, and there's a larger emphasis on skill with chases. Forsaken and Die of Death are notable examples of this subgenre. Meanwhile, Generators is about, well, completing generators. Once you fix a set amount of generators, you'll either win right then and there, or have to find the exit to escape. Usually, survivors don't have a set amount of health in this type of gameplay, and instead take a fixed number of hits to get down and have hook phases. The main draw to this type of subgenre is that matches are more slow and strategic, and there's a larger emphasis on mind games with chases, meaning you don't have to be a god at stamina managing to win games. Violence District and Dead by Daylight are notable examples of this subgenre. Now, of course, these boundaries aren't set in stone. There are some differentiators. Forsaken as generators, and you can complete them to deduct time off the clock. But you're not forced to. Dead by Daylight has offerings and other things that let you kill survivors instantly upon certain conditions. And Alter Ego doesn't give a damn about formats. The Alter Ego glazers will always defend this garbage gameplay by saying, "Well, Alter Ego does its gameplay differently, that's why it's good." No! Just because the gameplay is unique doesn't mean it's good. Alter Ego has the timer of a timer stall, the generator requirement to win of a generator game, and the health bar of a timer stall. And for some reason, the downs mechanic of a generator game too. And just to shake things up even further, because it can always get worse, let's throw in a location ping every once in a while that reveals the location of all the survivors to the killer. It can't commit to anything, and it shows as the survivor team is forced into a lose-lose situation. Due to the killer pings, you always want to be on the move, but due to the survivor team's win con being completing gens, you're either off gens and on the move to mitigate the pings, or you're on gens, a killer sees your location and that you're not moving and books it to you for a free kill. Okay, but what about that timer? The survivors can win if that timer reaches 0, right? Wrong! The fact that a tower defense dev team were behind as meticulous of a gameplay loop as an Asym killer really shows, as the killer wins if the time runs out. So you're forced on gens in order to seriously try and win, and the killer will get pings on you and rush you down. If you aren't fixated on gens, you get a timer loss unless you have an extremely stupid player on killer. Clearly the timer extension on a kill doesn't do anything, because if it did, we wouldn't have this issue. And even if you're off gens, both the current killers are dash slop killers, so they can and will catch up, regardless of if you have a stun or radar in your back pocket. There is zero way to stop tunneling as you have the basic health bar like Forsaken, but the timer is against you, and it shows. Hook stages would have been so much better for a game like Alter Ego where it's more objective based, and would mitigate tunneling by a lot. Overall, it's safe to say that the developers of Alter Ego have stolen so many things from other games, and failed to make them work that they're 4 shutdowns after an update away from being CK403. There's so much camping in this game that it gives Samson XVI a run for his money. As a killer, you're free to camp gens with next to no downside. Since the timer is very short, unlike Dead by Daylight's 1-hour timer, you can camp gens to stall out and win while picking off survivors that decide to approach a gen you're camping. Although, surely the devs made at least an attempt to prevent camping, right? Not quite! You want to know what the devs think is a reasonable anti-camping measure? adding a 6th generator to a map in a game where you need to complete 5 of them. Do you know how bad this is of a measure? Dead by Daylight has 7 gens total, so the killer has to 3 gen, short for camping 3 gens, after 4 gens are completed. While this doesn't fully deal with gen camping, as the killer can strategize which gens aren't fixed so the last 3 gens aren't too far from each other, it's still a decent attempt at dealing with camping. Meanwhile, Alter Ego has the killer just needing a 2 gen after 4 generators are done, and a shorter timer is on their side the whole time. And these are killers not just with good movement options, but ones with a ping on every survivor's location every once in a while, which makes their goal of 2-genning absurdly easy. I genuinely cannot understand why people look at this single extra gen and think it's the end-all be-all anti-camping fix when it's anything but. This is by far the biggest issue with Alter Ego's gameplay, as it makes the already horrible timer system even worse. Friday's patch shows how just out of touch the dev team is. So, we have a timer issue, a generator camping issue, and also an issue with killers having ultimates that are insta-downs on hit. I feel like I don't need to explain why an insta-down ult is a bad idea. Anyways, the update dropped, and surely all 3 of these issues would be fixed, right? Nope. 0 attempts to address the former 2, and for the latter, killer ultimates now deal 100 damage instead of being an insta-down. So it's basically still an insta-down. Every survivor besides Fjord has 100 or less health, with Fjord having only 120 max health, just 1 M1 away from getting downed by an ultimate. Of course, you can get the damage resistance, and that's why Fjord is a must bring in your team or you just lose. And it's not like killers have a really hard time gaining ultimate charge after the update. 5% per hit on dash slop killers with AoE options means it's still very easy to gain ultimate charge. None of these survivor changes mean anything besides maybe commander's strength and numbers getting a buff. But it was already decent beforehand. They mean nothing because you're still 1 ultimate away from getting downed. You're still on a super strict timer to fix 5 gens. And you're still in a game where the killer can easily 2-gen until the timer runs out. Alter Ego is a cash grab. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, but this game's graphics look so polished, it can't be a cash grab. That means nothing. While yes, the game does have good graphics, literally the only good thing in the game, that quality it means nothing when the gameplay is as poorly designed as it is. Guys, gameplay before graphics. But back to why it's a cash grab. First off, it's 25 Robux up front for this horrid gameplay, and with as big of a base as Paradoxium, that's gonna add up. Second, all I have to do is just open the game. Alpha Supporter Pass right center, and a recent donations board in the lobby. And it's not like the pass thing is a small icon. No, this thing takes up a good amount of the screen, has particles, the whole 9 yards to get your attention and make you buy it, or gift it, I guess. But the most damning proof that Alter Ego is nothing more than a cash grab? The progress feed, the equivalent of a sneak peeks channel for the game. Now, for an early access game with a pretty bare bones cast, you'd assume base content like new characters and maps would be front and center. And yeah, you'd think that because they noted 2 new survivors in the works. You want to know the first thing that they show there after releasing the game to the public? A skin. For the beta launch. That's probably going to cost Robux. Personally, I do not care about the actual skin shown, because the fact is, when you have 2 survivors planned, which will both bolster the small cast of survivors currently in the game, a skin that's going to appear months from now should be the least of the devs team priority for showcasing. You cannot convince me that this conglomerate of horrible design choices poorly disguised as an Asym killer game is not being made to squeeze every last drop of Robux out of its players and nothing more. So, we have a game that can't play well, can't update well, and can't stop thinking about Robux. How do we fix it? First and foremost, Alter Ego needs to properly decide what type of killer game it's gonna be. I'm not asking for a Dead by Daylight clone, I'm not asking for a Forsaken clone, I'm asking for a game with design choices that don't contradict each other. Go for a generator-based game and then ditch the health for hook stages, but you can keep the stamina management gameplay of the timer-based games. Second, matches need at least 1 extra generator on the map, up to a total of 7. Yes, killers can still 3-gen, but it's much harder than a 2-gen. The timer is probably going to need to be increased. Dead by Daylight has an hour time limit. I'm not asking for an hour, but just more than what it is now. Oh my god. Ultimates are gonna need another nerf. 90 damage at maximum. The fact that you can ambush 3 out of the 4 survivors in the game right now with an ultimate and they'll get downed regardless of the health they have makes getting rid of survivors as a killer extremely easy once you get going with damaging survivors to gain ultimate charge. 90 damage means noob and commander can take the ultimate at max health. But Patient Zero would still get insta-downed, which is fair, as its low max health is its downside. This makes it so you'll have to land an M1 or some other chip damage before going for the ultimate. It's not much, but it would mean the killer has to go through a little more effort compared to just getting the drop on a survivor with little to no counterplay. The game's development needs to have a larger emphasis on base content, such as survivors and killers, before cosmetic content, until there's a large enough roster made. Self-explanatory why. The game's called Alter Ego because it can't decide what personality it wants. One moment it's Dead by Daylight, the next it's Forsaken, and somehow it manages to miss everything that made those games good. It's what happens when a team that only knows tower defense tries to make an asymmetrical killer game and doesn't understand why people play it. Don't get me wrong, I want to be proven wrong and see those core issues fixed in future updates, but for now, Alter Ego is a masterclass in mediocrity. See ya.